I am going to read to you some excerpts from the Collins Nutshell books, Tape Recording and Hi-Fi. This book was first written in 1964. I am your hi-fi enthusiast, dressed suitably for the occasion. Okay, here we go. The preface. The slave under the bed. Every year, several thousand tape recorders are bought for prices ranging from 10 to 70 guineas. Many of them barely record the sound of family chatter or baby's first words before being put under the bed and forgotten. If you bought a slave in the marketplace, you would not tell him to wash the dishes and then order him to hide himself away. You would make full use of him all the time. But this is what people do with tape recorders. No sooner have they filled one spool with sound than they believe that they have reached the limit of what that machine will do for them. Today, with every single facility available, perfect sound is within your reach. In a world of motor horns and pneumatic drills, it represents a kind of oasis needed by modern man. There is, however, a knack to it. This book tells you how to get the most out of your tape recorder and hi-fi system. It is also an introduction to the adventure of sound. The machine. It has been said that anybody can make a recording by pressing a button and twiddling a few knobs. It has also been said that the difference between that sort of recording and the high quality one, obtained when you know how to get the best out of a machine, is all the difference between the photographer with the cheap box camera and the artist with precision built equipment. After all, the difference is contained in one word: technique. Tape is strong stuff. Unless it is mishandled very severely, it will not break. It can be crumpled up, jumped on, stamped on and tossed out the window. Some recordings make you feel like just doing that, and still it will play. Finding the best takes a little time, but it's great fun talking with trying out the different machines and engaging in shop talk with the dealer. Some dealers will try and baffle you with science. Others will go to great pains to help you. The last judge is stuck on the side of your head. It is your ear. It is wise to regard the microphone which is supplied with your recorder at the starting point rather than the ultimate, especially if you intend to obtain the maximum amount of pleasure from and benefit from your equipment by adding to it sooner or later, as your bank manager will allow. Sooner or later, let's face it, you will want a better quality microphone, and you will not be satisfied until you have reached your goal. Naturally, you would like to get down to some serious experiments with the microphone in order to discover what it can do. First of all, the human voice, your voice. It is better to carry out the first experiments in conditions of privacy, otherwise the family will only take a morbid interest in the results and assume that your brain has cracked under the strain of owning a recorder. Even when you are quite alone, you may still feel somewhat self-conscious. Never mind. You will not be the first tyro recordist to blush under the impact of his own personality. All of this is quickly overcome as you discover the fascination of your own voice. If at the very first time that you've ever recorded your voice or heard it reproduced, you will be amazed to notice inflections you never thought were there, a certain roughness or even a pleasing smoothness in delivery, or a most peculiar way of speaking. Do not disown yourself. The sound you hear is as true as your own reflection in the mirror.
And assume that your brain has
tape recording has given birth to what is known as tape respondents. And people throughout the world are able to chatter away to one another at length without worrying about the telephone bill. In Britain alone, several thousand people cultivate this hobby, and many of the lonely ones have made new friends with the aid of a cheap recorder and a spool of tape. Many tape people love collecting interesting sounds. For nostalgia, an interesting historic interest at the same time, there is the series Sounds of a Passing Age and Sounds of a Dying Age, available on Esoteric. The individual titles including Merry-Go-Round, 15 famous tunes played on the authentic Calliope, the sound of the Mammoth Fair organ, or the sound of the steam organ. These are all well worth keeping for their intrinsic value alone. In hi-fi circles, no greater bone of contention exists than the loudspeaker. From time to time, each of the three different speakers come under fire as treated to the sort of adulation which comes only from the technically minded. The story goes that one enthusiast became so engrossed with his loudspeaker system, he eventually built one big enough to live in. This is how hi-fi possesses you in the end, or the beginning. A speaker will not give of its best unless it is incorporated in a box, referred to in the hi-fi world as an enclosure. This helpful diagram shows you an enclosure, and in case it's too small and you can't see it, I have blown it up for you to see here. Here we have a rectangular speaker and enclosure, and here we have a loudspeaker enclosure suitable for placing on bookshelves and room dividers. Of course, if you want to go the whole hog, you could build a brick enclosure in the corner of the room. But it is possible that when friends look in for a drink and a chat, they will take a look at this nicely finished edifice and ask when the builders are coming in to finish the fireplace. In hi-fi, however, appearance is not everything. It is the finished sound that counts. If you do not fancy bricklaying, then an ordinary cone loudspeaker can be placed inside an ordinary precast concrete drain pipe. Many hi-fi people have done just this and experimented with varying lengths of pipe. It can have exciting results, especially as far as stereo reproduction is concerned. As with other hi-fi equipment, it is a good idea to have a selection of speakers in the home for demonstration purposes. You will find that a great deal depends upon the decor of your room, the way your wife has hung the curtains, distributed the rugs on the floor, even hung a large picture on the wall with its sheet of polished glass, bouncing sound waves about willy-nilly. Nothing is more irritating. After the dealer has departed and your wife has gone to the pictures to get a bit of peace and quiet, you have a chance to experiment with the placing of the loudspeaker. For such tests, use the same recording over and over again. Otherwise, your attention may wander from the aim of the experiment to the music, and you will lose track of what you are doing.
Use the same recording over and
After you have been buying your hi-fi components separately for a time, the moment of truth must arrive sooner or later, and you will want to build your own installation.
otherwise you're
True. The decision is often precipitated by a wife who objects to the lounge and or the living room looking like an electronics laboratory. Women, as a general rule, take little notice of the splendid sounds reproduced. They will refer to them as nice, unless the gear that makes the sound can be looked at under an aesthetic eye. After the wife has had her little speech, there are two things you can do. One, make the equipment more presentable in its present location, or two, take over the spare room and convert it to a sound studio. Crazes come and crazes go, but it is still too early to say with any certainty whether stereo comes under the craze heading or not. It is certainly a dramatic sound, and when first you hear it, you are unlikely to forget it for a long time. It has a reality and a depth performance which does surpass single-channel high-fidelity listening, and for that reason it is not the sort of thing to be trifled with casually. Whereas single-channel hi-fi fills the bill when it comes to listening for pleasure, stereo is much more compelling. It has a sense of occasion. For private and often unnerving stereo listening, there is nothing to surpass the use of headphones. More economical as far as the installation is concerned because it obviates the buying of a second loudspeaker. It has certain drawbacks. For one thing, it is so private that only you obtain enjoyment from it, and this irritates the womenfolk. If you decide on the headphones method, you will need to detach the headphone pieces and connect each to a separate plug. One of these is now connected to one amplifier and the other to the second amplifier. You should also give each of the amplifiers a 15 ohm 10 watt wire round resistance to run across the terminals of the output. This is necessary because the headphones consumes much less current than a loudspeaker, and the resistance will reduce it accordingly. I hope you will go forth and enjoy your adventure in sound.